let us commence our business today by taking up item number 2, report on the Business Advisory Committee under Rule 230 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business. I am to report that I called a meeting of the Business Advisory Committee in my office chamber on 26th July 2024 to settle the calendar for the autumn session 2024. The meeting was attended by Sri Prestone, Minister in charge of Parliamentary Affairs, Sri Roni MLA and Leader of Opposition, Sri Charles Nongrum MLA, and Sri Lakman MLA. After a brief discussion, the Business Advisory Committee approved the calendar which consists of 5 working days, out of which 3 days are earmarked for government business and 2 days for private members' business. The calendar approved by the Business Advisory Committee is placed on the honourable members' table. Now I have an announcement. I am to inform you that I have received a notice from Sri Adelbert Nongrum MLA dated 21st August 2024 for amendment to the motion for allocation of time proposed by Business Advisory Committee under Rule 231 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business, which reads as follows. To the Commissioner and Secretary, Meghalaya Legislative Assembly, Shillong. Subject, notice under Rule 231, motion of amendment to the allocation of time table proposed by Business Advisory Committee. Dear Dr. Andrew, I am to submit this notice under Rule 231, Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business, of my desire to move a motion of amendment to the allocation of time table proposed by Business Advisory Committee for the forthcoming autumn session of the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly. The motion that I am putting forward is the allocation of 5 working days with only 2 days for private members' business is too short a time for the state legislature to do justice to the many pressing issues concerning the state that require the attention of this August House, which meets only twice a year. I seek to move the aforesaid motion on the first day of the session so that the report of allocation timetable may be referred back to the Business Advisory Committee for consideration on the concerns and recommendations raised by participating members at the House discussion. Signed Adelbert Nongrum. I have examined the amendment motion and I would like to inform the House that the Rule 231 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business provides that an amendment can be moved to the motion moved by the Deputy Chief Minister in charge, Parliamentary Affairs. You may initiate discussion and try to be brief and specific. Mr. Adelbert, please.
Thank you, Mr. Sir, for allowing me under Rule 231 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business to move this motion of amendment to the allocation of time table proposed by Business Advisory Committee. To start, may I kindly point out that this current sitting of the Assembly is being labelled in the official Assembly calendar as autumn session. However, for me, and perhaps many others too, I'm quite certain that this present wet monsoon, much month of rain, is a little too early for autumn season. That apart, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is not the first time that I have raised an objection to the absolutely short numbers of days allocated for assembly session. And I can already presume that my request for the report on allocation of time table to be referred back to the Business Advisory Committee will not be entertained by the Minister in charge, Parliamentary Affairs. So to cut short and come straight to the point, which can be practically considered Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to recall I would like to recall what you had said in earlier session in this very august house about your valuable experience as a member of parliament, where you narrated how House sitting in parliament would continue to late in the evening so as to finish the entire business of the day. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, through you, I wish to seek the cooperation of the Minister in charge Parliamentary Affairs that, in keeping with the values of parliamentary democracy, the government of the day will be considerate of the many pressing issues concerning the state that require the urgent attention of this august house. And the various items of business which have been listed to be taken up, particularly private members' business, will not be cut short by the bell, but instead be granted ample time to be extended even beyond the regular hour. Mr. Speaker, sir, another point that I want to raise is that as members of the legislature, when we are submitting notice to the Assembly Secretariat informing of our intention to move either short duration discussion or calling attention motion, we are promptly informed by Assembly Secretariat that there are already enough number of submissions received and that no further submission can be considered by the Assembly Secretariat as the timetable of the session is packed. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is what I mean when I said at the start that the number of days allocated for this autumn session is absolutely too short, because it is really not our fault as members of the legislature that we offer too many notice for short duration discussion or calling attention motion that cannot fit within the timetable proposed by Business Advisory Committee. Hence, here again, I propose a possible solution that the convention and practice of listing only one item of calling attention motion and one item of short duration discussion in the business of the day be relaxed. As I have gone through the rules of procedure and conduct of business, and I find that there is no restriction specified in Rule 51 on the numbers of short duration discussion that can be taken up in a day, and even in the case of calling attention motion under Rules 54. The specified restriction of one item is if there are more than one submission relating to the same matter. Mr. Speaker, sir, here I humbly request for a generous interpretation of the rules from your esteemed authority. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to draw your attention to the practice of 0 hour being followed in the House of Parliament. Through video coverage, we have seen how when the Honorable Lok Sabha MP from Shillong raised a 0 hour, there were other MPs who did so before him at the same sitting and other MPs after him as well. In this context, I again refer to the rules of procedure and conduct of business in Meghalaya Legislative Assembly, and I find that there is no restriction specified in Rules 49A on the number of 0 hour that can be raised in a day. Mr. Speaker, sir, I earnestly hope that my few and humbly suggestion to allow for more item of business to be taken up in a day by this august house merits your consideration, your kind consideration. And with the same sincerity, I once again emphasize that the allocation of 5 working days with only 2 days for private members' business is not enough, is too short a time for the state legislature to do justice to the many pressing issues concerning the state that require the urgent attention of this august house, which meets only twice a year. Mr. Speaker, sir, I fear that limiting this current assembly session to only a few days is really like curtailing the voice of the people. And by what? And by that, I don't mean just the voice of the party that I proudly represent, but the voice of the people of our... With these very few words, Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you once again for allowing me to move this motion of amendment to the allocation of time table proposed by the Business Advisory Committee. Thank you. With this submission, I resume my seat.
Anybody wanting to participate? Minister in charge to reply.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the day when the BSC sat under your chairmanship, sir, we have already discussed all the details about all these issues. And if we recollect again, last year autumn session, we also had the same allotted calendar, which ultimately comes to 5 working days. And number two, that day in the BSC, sir, I think I've already expressed, because from the government side, we need only 3 days. On the basis of that, we said that, okay, for the private members, let us have 2 days. And in addition to that, by convention, what we have already decided that day also, sir. In case if need be, 1 or 2 hours or 3 hours in a day, it can be extended. Sitting can be extended. So accordingly, sir, we proposed and we passed in the BSC. And ultimately now, I would request the House to adopt this proposal and we'll go ahead. And maybe in the next BSC again, we will sit down, we'll discuss how to go about it. But for the autumn session, as already discussed in the BSC, sir, I would request that the House do approve the proposals.